So why did the church remove reincarnation from the teachings of the Christian church? When you have this idea of reincarnating, but you don't have the idea that the world is miserable, and you don't have the teaching that the world is miserable, and you're telling people to give up everything, they're thinking, well, if I have plenty of lifetimes to go back to God, I don't want to give up things now. I'll just take my time, and maybe I'll pray like once a month or whatever, and they'll do it step by step and continue to so-called enjoy the world. The world is full of suffering, and when you don't have a full understanding that if you're going to act in sin, that you're going to be totally screwed up in the future, screw yourself up, then you just want to come back and try and enjoy. And so they had this concept of they wanted everyone to behave, and they're like, you be good now in this life, you only got one chance, or else you're going to hell eternally. Up until the moment that you die, God is ready to forgive you. But once you reach that point, then God becomes not forgiving anymore, and you're just stuck in this place of suffering forever. And God's not ready, He's not gonna love you, or that's not God. God will always be ready to forgive you. And so we have to understand reincarnation in order to understand that point, in order for the philosophy to actually make sense and to understand the suffering in this world. It's not that it adds to anything that Jesus taught. It just is a full understanding of what Jesus was teaching when he's saying, as you sow, so shall you reap. We only have such a tiny bit of Jesus' teachings contained in the Bible, and when we're hearing from a preacher or a priest who doesn't love God, how can they understand the teachings of Jesus? Let's take a material example. If you have a teacher that knows calculus and a teacher that knows algebra, or like a 7th grader that knows algebra, and this person taught calculus, the 7th grader could be like, wow, that person's amazing. But when they try and teach the same thing that this person is teaching, you're not going to be able to understand from them. They're not going to be able to understand what's going on from them. You can't understand from a priest who doesn't love God, from someone who doesn't love God, what loving God means and what's going on in this world, which is all the things that Jesus taught, except we have such a limited view into the things that he taught, and so we have to learn from someone who actually understands all of it, from someone who loves God. And we have to understand from someone who can also know and teach calculus. It's very simple. It's not any crazy concept. Just because most people have this idea that reincarnation is from another religion or something. Jesus taught us that all scripture is good. If we're hearing from someone who's a lover of God, or from God himself, word from God himself, or from a lover of God, then this is scripture. And when we turn to scripture looking for reincarnation or answers of why we're suffering, we can apply the teachings of the Vedas, the yogic scripture, which has vast amounts of information on this topic. And we can think oh, Jesus didn't mean this scripture or that scripture or whatever, but that's an interpretation of what he's saying. What he said is all scripture is good. So we just have to, just because we can't understand all scripture doesn't mean that all scripture isn't still good. All scripture is good. We just have to be able to come from a place where we can understand it, which means having a teacher who understands it. Someone who can understand the perspective of Jesus, which is, first and foremost, Jesus was a lover of God, and that's his first commandment. So we have to have someone who's following his first commandment. Someone who's not following that commandment, we can't learn the whole truth from that person. And so I just don't want people to think that this is some sort of, it is a Christian idea. It's true Christianity is following the teachings of Jesus. As you sow, so shall you reap. Let go of the material world. This all goes in with the teachings of Jesus, the main teachings of Jesus. This philosophy is completely cohesive with it. And so to reject it on the basis of being sectarian would be not the intelligent thing to do. We have to come to a fuller understanding based on the teachings of the person we're supposedly following. Reincarnation comes about from our desire to be in this world, and until we desire to love God, until we desire to act in the way that Jesus wants us to, which is to follow in his footsteps, then we're going to remain here, we're going to suffer. We might be born in a family that's poor, we might be born in a family that's rich, we might be born in a Christian family, we might be born in a Buddhist family or a Muslim family, but no matter where we're born, we have to seek the truth. That's why we're in a human body, and we have to respect other living beings. These are what we can learn from reincarnation. Hari Bol, Namaste.